Hey guys, so I'm going to go through lesson one now. If you haven't yet found it, you should go to, oops, let me save this real fast. If I can get past the, okay. Um, Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here. This is where I'm going to post everything. If you go to my website, which is justinholman.com, and then if you click on the teaching link right here, this is where I keep all the information for my various classes. You can see I'm only teaching one class at the moment, real estate investments, and here's where I'll post a link for each module, and you'll be able to go in and find the stuff you need to complete discussion, questions, assignments, and so forth. It's also in Blackboard, but I like to have, as I mentioned in my syllabus overview, I like to be outside of Blackboard as much as possible because for reliability reasons. So if you click on Module 1, here you can download the syllabus and you can look through this video, watch the video. I think I edited the video, so this will, you don't need to skip the first 2 minutes once I get the better one up there. But I want to go through this, why study real estate? So what's the value in studying real estate? And I've got a whole bunch of links open, and so I'm going to go through these one at a time. So a lot of people want to study real estate because they think it's a way to get rich, and they're right. It's a really good way to get rich. A lot of people with huge amounts of money, including our current president, have made their fortunes with real estate. Actually, it's the president's father who made a fortune with real estate, and he's continued that. And you can see that of the top billionaires, finance and investments and real estate make up 2 of the top 3. And, it's not clear to me exactly what portion of this would also be sort of considered real estate. Maybe none of it, but if you want to get rich, real estate is an important element. If you don't need to be a billionaire, but you want to be a millionaire, well then 8 out of 10 millionaires say they found their wealth in real estate. And I don't think that means that 80% of people made their money in real estate, but probably they made money in some profession, and then they put that money in real estate as a way to preserve it and as a way to grow it and as a way to optimize their taxation. And we'll talk more about that as well. So as I go through these, I'm just going to click through them and close them, but you should go and read these articles. And I don't mean every single word, but you should, you don't have to have it memorized, but check them out, read through it. Try to get interested in the topic. That's kind of the idea, right? Okay. The next one here is McDonald's, and this post is from Rich Dad Poor Dad, who you may be familiar with, Robert Kiyosaki. It's sort of an approach to building wealth and to thinking about how to build wealth. And so Robert Kiyosaki is the author of this, and he talks in this article about Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, and he was talking to MBA students, and he said, I'm not in the business of hamburgers. I'm in the business of real estate. And the way Ray Kroc made his money was he would lease properties to franchisees who would buy a McDonald's franchise and run it, and he would collect the fees for a real estate lease or for the lease of the ground or the building or whatever it was. And there's a second article about the same thing, McDonald's being a real estate company. The holdings they have real estate-wise represent some of the most amazing pieces of real estate in the world, the best intersections or corner locations. It's just excellent, high-quality retail real estate. And so even if McDonald's starts losing market share to In-N-Out Burger or whoever, their real estate portfolio is still going to be way stronger. Okay, what's next? Real estate's impact on the economy. Another reason to study real estate is because it's an enormous portion of the economy. And a lot of people found that out in 2008 in a way that was pretty devastating, right? In 2008, real estate construction alone contributed over $1 trillion to the GDP. That's 6%. And when times were flying higher in 2006, before things melted down, it was more, and it represented nearly 9% of GDP. And there are ripple effects on this. You know, there's a finance part, you know, for people getting new mortgages, either through refinancing or for buying. That generates GDP. And you know that when the real estate market crashes, it hurts a lot of people because it's a truly important element in the economy. So real estate is super important to understand if you want to really understand the economy. So here, this is from the National Association of Home Builders, talking about two different ways that housing contributes to GDP. Residential investment, so this is when people are buying real estate, and that's 3 to 5% of GDP. But then what people spend to for their houses. So you know, this includes all dwellers of housing, so not just owners, but also renters. But you know, people spend a ton of money maintaining and improving their real estate, their houses, or the properties that they rent. And that has even, you know, 12 to 13% of GDP. So no wonder Home Depot and Lowe's are so big. But so that's another way that real estate contributes to the economy. Real estate in the global economy, you know, you could read through this and check it out and see what they say. But it's, you know, there are a lot of foreign investors who buy real estate in the US. There are a lot of Americans who buy real estate outside the US. People like to invest in real estate when they have more money than they need. And so read this one as well and look into the way foreign investment plays a role in real estate and therefore has an impact on the global economy. And it has an impact on the global economy in lots of ways. We found that out with derivatives in 2008 as well. We'll talk about all that stuff. Here's a couple of articles about urbanization. So here's one that's part of a podcast by the World Economic Forum, and that's a glimpse into the future of cities and urbanization, and obviously real estate plays a major role. The type of real estate that you might purchase in an urban environment is different than what you'd purchase in a rural environment or a suburban environment or other types of areas. So as the world becomes more urbanized, as more and more people move to cities, real estate wealth will be affected by that. Various locations will come in and out of fashion, and you know, fortunes will be made as new cities grow or existing cities are revitalized. Here's some more talk about urbanization. This is from the United Nations Population Fund, and you can read about how the world is urbanizing. And so, you know, understanding real estate is sort of a fundamental component of understanding the urbanization process. Now, inflation, you know, with the government going crazy, spending money, sending people money as part of the post-COVID recovery situation, some people may be worried about inflation. If we're printing so much money, won't we hit inflation? Well, real estate is a great hedge against inflation. The thing about real estate is, you know, if the dollar is, you know, if the dollar is becoming worth less because of bad monetary policy, too much government spending, or whatever drives interest, you know, housing typically will move with that inflation. And so when there's inflation, the dollar bills stuffed under your mattress will become worth less than they were. But real estate tends to move up. So read about you know, inflation, real estate as an inflation hedge here in this wealth management article. This is a more academic paper by a couple of researchers at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. And I'm pretty familiar with Susan Wachter's work because she does a lot of geographical data analysis with real estate data, and I think she's pretty impressive. This is probably a pretty heavy-duty paper for you, so I don't expect you to read it, but maybe download it and read the abstract. So that's like the introductory paragraph that tells you kind of the overview. Civil rights, obviously a huge topic right now as people are out in the streets protesting institutional and systemic racism. The Fair Housing Act of 1968 is one of the ways that the civil rights movement attempted to level the playing field, and they didn't do it all the way. It's still an unlevel playing field. But housing is a big area in which discrimination can take shape. So if people don't want someone of a particular racial background living in the neighborhood, there have been that was called redlining, and there are lots of ways that in the past and presently people might discriminate in making housing decisions, but that's illegal. And I don't know to what extent it's enforced, but at least it's on the books as illegal. And there'll probably be more, if there are major changes coming with these protests, then there may be changes to Fair Housing Act or other related types of regulations surrounding housing. Let's see, and then demographics are a big part of our economy as well. And one of the things that's happening is our population is aging. And the baby boomers are sort of the oldest generation now, and there are lots of them, right? They're more than any other age group. And so lots of people are getting older, and many people who watch real estate are concerned that boomers are going to try to downsize in mass, and that will create surplus inventory in the market. But people have been saying that for about 20 years, and it hasn't happened yet. A lot of boomers like to stay in their house, or they just haven't behaved the way some of the experts thought that they might. And so, but it's something to keep an eye on. Likewise, and you guys may be members of the millennial generation or close to it. Millennials, because of basically getting gypped on a variety of fronts, but stuck with loans for college, stuck with higher real estate prices, stuck with a weak economy where older people are staying in jobs and younger people have a hard time getting jobs. Millennials are less likely to buy houses than previous generations. Now that may be changing, and as millennials start to have kids, they're gonna buy houses. But it's these demographic trends have an impact on the real estate market, and vice versa. So this is another way to understand the American economy. In energy, rooftop solar has become a big deal. And it's a fight for control over who generates power and how that's allocated. And rooftop solar has become a huge contributor to energy, and that's an interesting development because I think solar will continue to become more relevant, more cost effective, and a bigger contributor to energy production. So this is another way that real estate affects the economy. And then finally, their tax policy for real estate is crazy complex. You probably don't need anybody to help you with your taxes when you get out of college and get a job. But the moment that you buy real estate, especially investment real estate, you probably will want a CPA because things get complicated, and understanding how to take advantage of tax laws and not abuse them or use them inappropriately is a big part of that. So here are some talking points from the National Association of Realtors about real estate related tax policies. So hopefully this helps you understand the critical relevance of real estate. And I think maybe many of these topics aren't as interesting to you as your own interest in owning real estate someday. And I think for many people, buying a home or investing in real estate is one of the best possible investments they can make if it's done correctly. There are a lot of people who lose a lot of money by buying real estate incorrectly. That is typically paying too much or buying something that doesn't have good value to other people or good utility, good resale value, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so click through these, read them. I don't memorize them, but be ready to discuss them perhaps, and get a feel for these different elements. And if there's something in particular that really interests you, like, oh, I always thought McDonald's had nothing to do with real estate, well, dig in a little deeper, find out what you can, and we'll discuss it in the coming days. Okay, so hopefully this helps you understand the relevance of real estate. And hopefully you'll watch this, and I'm going to move on to lesson 2. And lesson 2 is going to be how to buy real estate. So I'll see you shortly in that lesson. Bye-bye.